we are now accustomed to the idea that OpenAI, Google DeepMind, Anthropic, or an obscure startup from China will make an announcement sometime over the next 3 months or weeks, next month, or maybe tomorrow morning, that there's a revolutionary AI model coming out that will redefine the boundaries of what we know is possible, and that will render everything that we know obsolete. At the same time, we're bombarded with warning signs like an AI bubble brewing up, threatening to collapse all the markets, and several times bigger than the dot-com crash. We hear about hallucinations and misinformation of LLMs, and we hear about ethical issues, privacy protection, and job displacement. The topic of this panel is to clear the hype and to understand how AI will reshape the future of real estate. And I'm delighted to be joined by a distinguished panel, starting from the lovely Irene Gallou, Senior Partner, Head of Specialist Modeling Group, Foster & Partners, Dr. Matteo Borghi, Associate Professor in Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Henley Business School, my alma mater, Reading University, Nikos Patsiogiannis, Co-Founder and CEO of Prosperty, Chari Toloumis, Country Head of Building Business Unit, Siemens, and Lefteris Sergios, Group Head of Data, Resolute in Cepal, Greece. And to honor Matteo, we'll do this panel in Italian. Does anyone speak Italian?
Sì.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. We all hear about AI, it's everywhere, but I think there's, even for practitioners like us, there's a confusion, right? What really is AI? What does it do? What it doesn't do? So I think we should start with something practical. What is AI in practice? How do you use it in your own day-to-day work? What does it do for you? Irene, would you like to start? How you use AI? And just to make a brief note about Irene, she's currently working with SpaceX to design a specific station on Mars?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe, okay.
I hope that everything. Θα ήθελα να σας χαιρετήσω στα ελληνικά. Το είχα καημό, γιατί είναι η δεύτερη φορά που με έχετε καλέσει στην Πρωτέσκο και πάντα το πάνελ είναι στα αγγλικά. Είμαι 20 χρόνια με το Foster & Partners, σε ένα group που λέγεται Specialist Modeling Group, και έχω δίπλα μου και έναν φίλο που δουλεύαμε παλιά πριν 15 χρόνια μαζί. Αυτό το group ξεκίνησε πριν 30 χρόνια στο Foster να βοηθήσει την εταιρεία να κάνει transition από το analog στο digital. Σχεδιάζανε με τα χέρια και βοήθησε αυτό το group, το computer aided design. Από εκεί και πέρα άρχισε να βοηθάει το γραφείο να κάνει adopt οποιαδήποτε τεχνολογία έβγαινε και να βοηθήσει επίσης να to anticipate the future. Είναι σαν technology incubator group. Μαζί με αυτό είμαστε και συμβουλευτική ομάδα στην τεχνολογία και σε διάφορα άλλα θέματα. Να σας πω πώς το χρησιμοποιούμε.
So what does AI do?
Okay, I'll switch to English because the rest of them. Okay. So how do you use it? We started adopting the technology a few years back, obviously, because it's something new and something very exciting. So the first thing we did 3 things. 2 things. First thing, see if there are any efficiencies to gain. No? You look at all the workflows we have, and we have not just architects, but also engineers and in-house consultants in urban design, product design. Every group looked at acceleration, no efficiency gains. Can we do whatever we do better and faster?
Processes, right?
Processes.
Okay.
We have a process that we design, and we try to look at, can we actually use the technology to accelerate?
Okay.
Are they inefficient? The second thing we did, we looked at other industries to see what they're doing and if there's anything we can learn from them. Because maybe innovation doesn't always come from the design firm, no, comes from all sorts of other areas, no, I mean, medical, this and that. So looked at other industries, how they're using it and what kind of tools they use, and if we can adopt them. And the third thing we're doing is try to look at in-house some very esoteric things, which is very Foster related. And this is where we develop our own tools. Because the first thing we use whatever is out there, no, we adopt it fast and we make it ours. But when we decide to invest our own profits into developing some in-house tools is when we think that something is so esoteric to us and so fundamental to the way we do business.
Okay.
And this is where we decide to invest.
Okay, cool. Matteo actually is an academic, but his dark secret is that his PhD was on robotics in shopping centers, right?
Hotels.
Or in hotels. Okay.
Hospitality.
So you're looking at a practical example of how AI, which is the brain of the robot, is helping the hospitality industry. What do you see?
So basically there, we're talking about, just to give you an idea, the service robot themselves is kind of AI infused, so they can make their own autonomous decision, they can sense the environment, and they can also act and interact. The way that I see, and then the specific task at the moment, they can deliver amenities to your room in a hotel. They can also act as concierge, but also we can think about drones that in a construction site, they can basically track the construction site and see and do autonomous inspections there. These are the practical examples, but then basically the idea is that AI, as you were saying, is the brain of this machine, that is the robot itself, that without AI cannot think. And so that is where my research lies in terms of try to understand whether it's just an operational efficiency or is also the value that you provide as a company in hospitality, and whether this is taken by the final customer, whether it sees that there is an increase in value of the experience itself. And that seems to be the case. So that is something very interesting to explore also in the future.
Okay. Nico?
Yeah. So the simple answer for AI is that it provides a better way, a faster way to analyze complex data, identify patterns, synthesize the data, and be able, to create insights. For example, in real estate, we see an evolution that is coming for the very reason that, as you can imagine, on real estate, there is plenty of data that are being related to every single asset. Just a simple example is that for a standard apartment, there are over at least 250 data points that could be potentially captured, that could be potentially analyzed and be interpreted in different ways. So we see that real estate investors, real estate asset managers, or even everyday people, they can make use of this data in a most efficient way. And we have seen, and we as Prosperty, we are already applying a number of use cases on that front that we can discuss.
So that's like predictive analytics on where the market's going or how you...
I would say that predictive analytics is probably something that will come in the very near future.
Okay.
Based on the amount of data that will be available, to train our models. But there are simpler use cases that you can use or you can apply. For example, the way that listings of real estate assets are being created, the marketing campaigns, the way they're targeted, and obviously, the way that you can retrieve data out of documents of unstructured data that can help you, create insights that in a very fast manner, unlike to the traditional way of trying to search the data through papers.
Okay, so no hype, just analyzing data very, very efficiently and giving you the answer.
That's step number one, for sure.
Okay.
But down the road, as the models are being enhanced, and they provide better predictions and predictions that you can trust, we feel, that there are plenty of use cases to be exploited.
Cool.
First of all, thank you all for being here and having us here today in this beautiful stage. I just gonna start saying what is AI for us, for me personally, how we perceive it. I would say it's if I should give a short definition, I would say it is the system which amplifies the intelligence of humans and systems. Right? This is what AI is. Is it something new? No. In Siemens, we have started building AI applications, not like the AI applications are today, but AI applications using machine learning and neural networks since '80s, right? So it's not something new. Nevertheless, these days we are in this crossroad where processing power, connected systems, amount of data, internet, And advancements, of course, in machine learning and neural networks, LLM models and so on, are creating this boost that we see. And it's reasonable, the question, whether we are seeing a hype or not. I would say, to some extent, yes, it will be a hype, but what is important is that in the next 10 years, strongly believe that we will see changes that we haven't seen in the past 50, and it will go so fast that we will not be able to digest, even in some cases. Like you are mentioning now that Chinese announced this model which is coming, which is going to change what we know. And we will hear stories like this every day. And especially in real estate, it will be important also to accelerate the adoption of AI. Why? Because there are enormous amount of data, terabytes of data generated every hour, where we can use this data. Data is like the fuel for the engine of the AI, where we can find actionable insights and really optimize real estate, increase the value of real estate, increase the value of these assets. So that's why I'm looking forward to the next minutes of this discussion. We could talk a lot about AI, but it's very interesting.
What is AI without hype? Real day, hard-nosed applications?
I think that's a great pass that I got. AI, as it was mentioned, has been exists for a few decades now, right? I mean, 20 years where we used to make our own models. We used to train our models, and we used to consume them ourselves with machine learning, deep learning, neural networks, the things that we all know. Nowadays, we have in front of us another thing, another prism, another perspective of AI, which is they give us the models, right? We don't train them. They just give it to us, and we consume them. So we have the Gen AI, as it's called, with the LLMs and the speech capabilities now, with the vision capabilities now. So we need to understand, as practitioners of data and AI practitioners, we need to understand, there's a distinctions here. So at our data set in Resolute Cepal Greece, what we do is that first of all, we learn from the AI. We try to understand how it works and why it has been a successful story so far. AI has been a paradigm across the globe, a successful story because it actually adjusts itself to your needs. In the morning, you wake up and you ask about a cooking recipe. In the afternoon, you ask a little bit of help for your work. And then at night, you just ask it to tell you a bedside story for your child to put it to bed. It adjusts. So this is exactly what we're trying to do at your data set. We're trying to offer bespoke solutions to our clients because real estate, it's something dynamic. It has been organic for ages. It hasn't been standardized across the globe. It's something that you see needs across different players that they are different. They differ, they're different. So this is the first thing. The other thing is that we need to go back to the basics. Now that we have AI and we can actually have enormous capabilities around OCR, we can actually check the text, we can read them, documents, hundreds of documents coming from real estate about contracts in 1960s. And now we can actually use them, we can actually extract information from them. While back then we were using regex and keyword search and it didn't work. Now we can actually do it. And this is something that we're doing at our data set. What we're trying to do is that we create the most complete database in Greece of real estate. And so we can actually generate analytics and reports that basically you can see in the media, that our analyses are always in the media and they're mostly played out. Because we have proprietary data that needs to be standardized and cleansed, and also we have third-party data. You're coming from listings, from auctions, from valuations. So everything needs to speak the same language, so all our users and clients or whatever can actually consume in the same way.
Okay. Well, in the VC industry, investors are trying, they're trying to simplify things as much as they can. So we ask startups, is your solution a painkiller or is it a vitamin? Is it something that's going to solve one problem I have right now? Or is it something that will make me stronger in the next few years or decades? The issue is that most people, and I've heard it from a number of you, most people go for the painkillers, right? I've got a pain point right here. I want to solve it right now. And the problem is that we use AI to alleviate some problems now, and we don't invest enough into long-term solutions. And maybe that's where the hype comes from. The question is, are we, at this point in time, just using painkillers? I mean, everything you do in AI is like process automation? Is it like text processing, which, okay, it accelerates things many times over, but is that the limit, so we stop adopting AI there? Or do you see using or investing in the vitamins? I mean, something that will help you in the next few years or decades. So for example, in design, right? You mentioned process automation. Are you investing in, or can you talk about applications that will help you over the next decade, for example, at Foster's?
We do two things. One is to accelerate, but we do it fast because the technology is changing so fast. So in order to make a long-term investment, you need to know a little bit where everything is going, and it's very difficult to predict, no? And it's very easy to stay still and terrified and say, I'm about to make a 2-year investment into developing something, and then next week someone comes and then, here it is. So we're terrified of that. That's why we don't, whatever we can do fast, we do. Whatever it will take a year or two, we just try to think a little bit, who else needs it? And if there is other industry that needs something similar, we wait, because we know that eventually we're all going to push together. If it's something very esoteric to us, then no one will ever do it, because then we will do a long-term investment.
It's like finding a solution for a non-existent problem, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing is, the first thing we want to do is amplify the human intelligence with the artificial one, which means that architects, young architects now, they have so many things to coordinate. We're doing it, we're helping them with knowledge management in a nice way, that actually they can actually synthesize all this different, information that they have to integrate into the brief. You have the brief of a building, and an architect's job is to integrate. You have environmental constraints, you have social constraints, you have structural constraints, all sorts of things. Lots of different data sets that somehow you have to just put all in your head and try to give shape, come up with a volume to accommodate all that. That is extremely difficult and takes years to master. By helping them with knowledge management, we see incredible improvements. We amplify them. So they can ask a question. They can say, which system is better for X and Y climate, for example. And in order to do that, we just have to keep a little bit, housekeeping with our data sets. We have them. So the immediate thing and long-term investment is for us to make sure that our data are well-structured and clean. That's something we started a few years back, and we're still doing it. Because the moment something will pop up that we definitely want to use it, if our data is clean, it's more likely that we will have a bigger impact. If we don't have, the right workflows by, collecting our data, cleaning it, and formulating properly, we will never adopt it fast.
Okay, makes sense. As things currently stand, and that's maybe my experience as well, we use certain verticals, right? So you do robotics, you do data analytics, IoT, and what have you. Do you guys speak to each other? Do you collaborate? So, for example, you remember we had a dinner with this architect who does healthcare, and she was saying that she's designing buildings which will be used by robots as well. So in Foster's, or for example, in your case, do you speak to architects or to IoT guys to mesh what you do?
Of course, because there is the supply side, demand side, and then I think that in the future we need to have this kind of interaction, to have a building.
We do, but do you do it?
Yes, so like also myself, I had the interview with the hotel managers, I had the interview with the companies that they are developing the robots and also the building themselves, but in order to understand more holistically what is going to be the property in the future. So that
you speak to architects as well, or to property managers, like what Siemens is trying to help?
So some property management, some that provide the software, the robot themselves. No architect at the moment, but that is for me the next step to get
the next step.
The other source.
Not
yes.
there yet.
And if I may, this question is very important because in the digital era, if we don't collaborate, we cannot scale, we cannot go fast. And I think especially in the real estate sector as well, it is very important to think that the design phase is very important to digitize as well, to use BIM, to use all the data where you can use later to use AI in your design. But what is also equally important and even more is not to forget that the building is going to be there for 100 years after the construction. Right? So the construction might take 5, but the operation phase is 100 years. So 80% of the cost of the building is going to be in this operation phase. And having an AI-ready models from the design perspective, it will be very important later.
I have to add something there. It's such important. We design the building, and then very often we do this manual, and we hand it over to the operator or to the owner. They never read it. And after a few years, they don't even remember where it was stored. Now we can actually transfer that knowledge in a way that they can actually interact with it and ask, how flexible is this building? Show me all the floor plates that these architects have analyzed, no? And they're somewhere in a PDF stored, that I can adapt the building to future needs. We do all this work, no? To prove to the client that there is so much flexibility in on the mechanical systems, on the floor plate, where the structural element is. But no one accesses this document after. And now with this technology, we can hand over that knowledge in a whatever, with an interface that is very human-friendly.
So
And actually, they
no
can actually
point-
use the building well, no? I mean, they can ask questions, ask my building. No? If you're a facilities manager, you will have access to a few things, but if you're even an occupier, you will see all the love and care that went into the building, but all sorts of teams of, 200, 300 people, no? That, they are involved in the design phase, no? So much thinking, no? From the structural engineers on flexibility, from the mechanical engineers, health and well-being, all these features the building has, and then you never use them, like a fancy new car.
Yeah.
No? I doubt that we use all the
functions.
Same
Okay.
thing with buildings, actually worse.
So there's no point asking you how many of your designs come with digital twins.
Well, one now that is very famous, I think, and you keep an eye on it because I'm curious as well, is the brand new headquarters for JP Morgan.
Okay.
It opened last week. And what happened there is a very happy coincidence where the owner adopted an AI platform, and we worked together. It's developed by a startup, OpenBlue, bought by Johnson Controls now, but doesn't matter. It is a platform where all the different data sets are integrated. Very easy to use. So you have occupancy scenarios, you have the mechanical systems there is an amazing lighting system that follows the weather. All sorts of complexity. Somehow it's all be grouped into the platform. And the client is really engaged and very happy. I mean, actually, they have invested in the company, even better. So we all invested in to make it a success and see actually if that will help us transfer the knowledge from the designers into the occupiers and to the owners as well. So then they can actually use the building well and make sure that it has a long life. Because very often they adapt it and change it because they don't know how much flexibility it is built in. The teams leave. The design team is not engaged anymore. You can't find even the people. So it's quite important to use this technology to transfer the knowledge from the team to the owners.
Is this data is it available to the data analytics guys? So we can...
Yeah, it's open. I mean,
do you guys tap into use data, occupational data, or not yet?
In our case, I think it depends on the kind of the asset, right? So if we're talking about large commercial assets of this kind, like big offices or special purpose assets, I think this kind of data are extremely useful in order to help out, pricing, to help out, to predict, the OPEX down the line, potential CAPEX advancements and the likes. However, if we're talking about scattered assets, which is, especially in this part of the world, is what we're looking for, there are other kinds of data sets that, could be potentially combined and being able, to be leveraged. For example, you have institutional investors, they have portfolios. They were looking for effective ways to commercialize those portfolios, either for lease or sale. So now we're able, to map out, the whole journey of the asset, as well as its interaction with potential buyers or tenants. How and where the property is being commercialized and promoted to understand, what kind of leads you have. How quickly, you can create engagement leads, offers and closings. What are the secondary or third tier kind of elements that may be critical or add, higher sensitivity to the life cycle? For example, do we need to put some CAPEX, and if so, what and how much, in order to, for example, to expedite the commercialization? So these kind of elements, now we're able, to start collecting them, synthesizing them. And it's not that we couldn't do that in the past, but now we can do it way faster and conduct multiple iterations in order to end up, with meaningful results.
Okay. I mean, there's no point asking how AI is going to help you. I think we should maybe explore the flip side. What are the risks of using AI, right? And you come from different verticals. So the risks manifest themselves in different guises. So you have data biases, data quality issues. You have, could be algorithm problems, in which case your algorithm was trained incorrectly and spews out the wrong results. You can have reputational risks if someone steals your data. Something you can have as a designer, and I'm sure you can comment, is if you trained your algorithm on your own designs, maybe you end up with a biased design, and maybe you overlook it's data bias, right? What happens across the market. And of course, it's the point of humans being left out. And this comes to you. So from your perspective, what are the main risks of using AI?
I can say, starting from the last point, because it's a big discussion about humans left out. Just a statistic is that 75% of the facility managers are going to retire in the next 5 to 10 years.
75% of property managers. In how long?
Globally, I mean, it is a global search that.
What, 5 years, 10 years? What?
Sorry?
In 5 years or?
In the next 10 years.
10, okay.
And this is a job that the new generations don't easily accept as something that it would be interesting for them to do. So we are not talking about replacing humans, we're talking about filling a gap, right? This is important to remember. And then we have to always have in mind, like you said, what is the risk? Of course, there is a risk about data privacy, about ethics. And in EU, we are doing already a lot in these areas. Like GDPR, we started it, the act now about AI. So it's not like in Europe, we don't have the regulations and all the attention to be careful on that. So from my point of view in Europe, the biggest risk is not acting, not doing, not innovating, and left behind. And what means in buildings left behind? Like every day we delay in implementing AI technologies, we are losing money. Why? Because energy efficiency is not happening. And then every customer is different, right? So you start with some real estate own energy efficiency is important for them. It's like the previous discussion about the painkiller or the vitamin. So there are different needs. And sometimes they don't know that there is a cure for their need, for their pain point. Mm-hmm. And with the discussion, it is amazing what you can find out. Like in the case you mentioned before about the bank, we had another discussion with the German bank. I remember when I was, the times I was in Switzerland, and the discussion started about energy efficiency, how much we can save in money from energy. And then they realized that if we can use the data from the occupational data, how people move in the building, what meeting rooms they use, how they can make the assets they use in the meeting rooms more efficient and so on, they realized that something that they couldn't imagine we can solve. And they say to us, so you can save us one floor from our skyscraper in Hong Kong.
Okay.
These will be much more savings. I'm not saying in Greece we have such cases yet, but I'm just giving it as an example of how much you can do with the power of data and algorithms.
Okay. How do you alleviate the issue of lack of originality or data bias? Getting stuck with the same old designs or solutions just because your database is not broad enough, which is a problem that Greece is facing because you don't have open data yet, right? We don't know.
Well,
anyway.
I mean, this is quite the risk that we were discussing just minutes ago, right? I mean, the AI, we need to be careful of how we're going to use it. I think the discussion has a little bit deviated of what is an AI and what is actually the speed and, the consequence of using the AI. Mm-hmm. But here, when we're discussing about originality, we need to be careful. We need to understand, what is AI and how we're going to use it.
It's your thing. Are you a consumer or are you a producer?
Both. Right?
No, exactly.
Because behind the scenes, you're the developer, you're the AI practitioner that actually uses the AI to help him, to help design, build, deploy, and ship the tools and the services. And as a consumer, you're the one that actually gets it and uses it and prompts or whatever. So originality, this is the main problem that we're facing nowadays. When we're discussing about what I told you before, the distinction, when we're discussing about the models that were being given because there are specific companies that are actually releasing this kind of models. When you're this guy, you need to be careful. Everyone saw what happened with Deloitte in Australia, right? I mean, humans need to be in the loop. Humans still need to be at the very center on the wheel, that are actually going to judge what happens. There is nothing. This is not a panacea, right? I mean, AI is not there. We're not talking about AGI. We're talking about AI, and still need to review what happens. When we're discussing about the traditional AI, of course, in that bit, we can actually make our own things, and we can be original, because we are responsible for the models that we create.
Brilliant. I'm afraid we've run out of time. If you have any questions, you can meet us outside for coffee. Thank you all for coming all the way from London. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.